All right, so guys, welcome to today's class, and then we are going to talk about how we can use real-time communication with Socket IO and Mongo database. Okay, so in the last class, right, where we looked at how to use Mongo. Sorry, we saw how to use Socket IO, right? And then we just basically used only Socket IO for what we were doing. We didn't try to use it with MongoDB to maybe preserve the state of whatever we were doing, right? So you found out that messages you sent and received, when once the server crashed and came up again, we couldn't retrieve those messages again, right? So that's one of the like disadvantages of just using Socket IO alone, right? That if you're using Socket, it's not even a disadvantage because of course you're not preserving the data. You don't expect the Socket IO to preserve the data for you, right? So you need to write the logic to get it to a database, right? Okay. So last class, we just saw how we could send a message from one person to another, how to receive message and the rest, right? We didn't do any really complex stuff like that, right? So I'll go over what we did in the last class, and then I'll then add the Mongo database parts, okay? And then we'll see how we can make stuff out work well, especially chats, right? So apart from just chats, you can use Socket IO for anything that has to do with real-time communication, right? So real-time communication might mean notifying somebody that something happened. Like for example, let's say on your mobile app, when maybe you're on the app but you're not viewing notification, but maybe all of a sudden, maybe someone maybe sends you a message, or someone or let's say maybe you're on an app, right? And then the app uses WebSocket. So maybe when someone transfers you money, as soon as the person transfers you money, it shows that, okay, so and so person has transferred you so and so amount of money now, right? And then you see maybe it changes the total balance you have, right? From a particular amount to another amount, right? So those kind of things are what sockets.io is really responsible for. They make real-time communication simple and seamless, okay? So let me inform these people that class have started. Class has started. Okay. So let's see. So what can we use sockets.io to do? I've mentioned it. We can use it to enable real-time chats, okay? Then let's see. These are the two things we are going to do. How we can manage real-time communications, and then how to send and receive messages, right? Although we know how to send and receive messages, but how do we save those messages, and how do we maybe get those messages anytime we want them? Okay, so let's continue on that. All right, so we will need to be going to VS Code, and then let me also launch my Postman, because I found out that Postman takes a little bit of time before it opens up. So it's better I launch it quickly, right? Before doing any other thing. All right, so let's see. Sorry. Let me go to my VS Code, and then we'll continue from there. So yep. We are at VS Code now, and so let me go back to talking about what happened. what we did here. Okay, let me clear this out. Clear. And let me make it bigger for you guys. Loss. So yeah, I'll come back and change this to 2x. Where is it? Is a place I used to track. Okay, I think I'll write 2x. So I'll know that it's 2 times I made my screen bigger, because I don't like it really big though, all this stuff. Okay. And let me go over what we did in the last class, right? So in the last class, right, we said express here, right? We said express equals to, we instantiated express here, right? Then after instantiating express here, we then created a server and passed that express up into the server, right? And then inside in that HTTP server that we just created and passed in express, we will now pass that server to socket.io, right? This IO here is going to create this server, and then that server should run express. We did here. Then after listen to when you're using socket.io is the connect or the connection event. So the connection event is triggered when once someone connects, or as soon as someone connects to socket.io, right? You can decide to show the person's maybe you can decide to do whatever I want to do with the person. You can greet the person basically, emit an event. You can do, you can broadcast a message to every other person that, yeah, people, maybe a particular person just came online, and that's how basically every other app works, right? So so let's see, right? What we listen to a connection, and we said once someone connects, that we want to log out the person's socket.id. That's the person's unique ID for each connection. Remember that each time a client connects to your server, that's an ID will automatically be created for that particular connection. So for each person that connects, they will have a unique ID, which you can use to identify that connection, right? Then socket.onSend message, right? So now this is how you listen to the connected user, right? So for this particular connection, for this particular IO connection, right? You can listen to maybe a message event, right? I think that's the only event I put there, a message event, and then you can decide to do whatever you want to do. You can have a lot of events here, like you can have message events, you can have notification events, you can have any kind of events you want, right? And the reason for we having this socket.io, this IO here, is that you can create another socket connection. So you can say IO dot off, right? So this of here is used to create a namespace. So you can say, you can create, for example, you can be like, okay, let's create a namespace for charts. So anything that has to do with charts alone is going to be handled by this particular namespace, right? And namespace looks like our routes, similar to our how we do routing in normal this thing, right? In normal what do they call it? Our routing in Express, right? That's router.get, router.post, there you now put in bracket. But this one, it's not the same, right? Here you just say io.off. So I could say I want to listen to a particular namespace, right? And the rest, but that's like beyond the scope of this class for now. So I'll just show how to save message, how to broadcast messages, and the rest. Okay, so let's do it this way. So let's see. We have this message here, and then there's what we can do here, right? Now, the same way we have middlewares in Express.js is the same way we have middleware in sockets.io. So how do we declare middlewares in sockets.io, right? Okay, so what's basically, why would we even need a sockets.io middleware, right? Now, the sockets.io middleware can be used for things like authentication or authorization and the rest, right? The same way you have your authentication middleware in Express, is the same way you have like that kind of thing, right? In sockets.io, right? Let's go over to sockets.io's documentation and find out like what is going on, what we can obtain from there. Okay. So let's see. Let me reshare my screen and go to sockets.io. Wait. Let me go to socket.io. Let me reshare my screen. Oh, okay. So I'm resharing my screen and let's go to the documentation. Okay, let's see. For the server, if you go there, you should see a place called middlewares, right? These are other things you can do, how to do reverse proxying multiple nodes, if you have multiple nodes, how to handle calls and the rest. But let's come to this middleware, right? So registering a middleware function has access to the socket.io instance generated in the middleware function. Okay, let's see. io.use, right? io.use is the same we have app.use or router.use, right? We also have io.use. So io.use is used to maybe make some validation before you call the next route, right? So it's basically the same thing. You pass in the socket here and you pass in next. So this socket will contain everything to do with that user that is trying to connect. So which means this socket will have this socket is an object, it will contain the user ID and some other user information, right? This next is used to call the next route, just the same way we have request, response, and next in Express. So we have socket and next here, right? And what I'm looking for is the auth. Okay, so this is how you can send your token, right? Maybe from front end, you can say auth token, and then on the server side, this is how you would get your token. So if a token is sent, like maybe bearer token, and then you want to maybe work on that bearer token, right? Maybe get it from your back end, you can do this. You can say sockets.handshake.auth.token, or I think you can just say sockets.handshake.auth, and you can get the authentication there directly, right? And you can also use, apart from just using it as a middleware to maybe make some validations or the rest, you can also use sockets.io middlewares to handle error messages or handle error basically. So this means this is going to be at the bottom of your socket, right? Right. So you can write this maybe an error handler at the bottom, right? Or you can do it this way. You can use sockets.on. So this one is used to check for connection error. So if someone is trying to connect but the connection didn't go well, right? Or maybe socket.io refused to connect that person, then you can then check the reason why that connection didn't go well. But then apart from that, if you don't have this to check for the error, you can use a middleware like this. So note this middleware is going to be under your socket, right? So let's see. What else? Compatibility with Express. And you can basically come and like go through this documentation and see what you can obtain for yourself. So let's see. Let's come back to VS Code. Where's VS Code? Okay. Let's come back here and let's see what we can actually do. So here I could say io.use and in here it would accept the callback function. The callback function is going to have, okay, it's going to have socket here, sockets, comma, and then next. Yeah, so next, or whatever you want to call this, right? It's not really necessary that it has to be, you have to name it socket and you have to name it next, right? I could just name this N and you could just name this S, but another thing, remember that if you write it that way, it's not going to make sense for someone that is going to be reading your code. Remember when I talked about giving your variable names, your variables, right? A descriptive name. So you would say that, and then we want to say const token should be equals to socket.rEquest socket.request.auth. Auth, you can pass anything with this request, right? Const token should be equals to that dot auth, and then we might want to, right? This auth can be bearer auth. It depends on what you want, right? It could be a bearer auth. It could be whatever you want it to be, right? So let's see. What do I write here? So now what we want to do with the token is I would want it to be a bearer of, and then I want to dissect it, like split it into two, right? So how do I do that now if I want to split it into two? So that would mean me, remember that this is where we did that stuff, right? To split a token. So now what we can do here, remember that there's sorry, there is what is called the DRY principle, right? Don't repeat yourself. So how can we make it possible that we don't actually repeat ourselves in this case, right? How is it, how do we make our our code to be reusable? So we don't need to, I don't need to come and copy this and paste again. Let's see. I will need this authorization header. I'll need to split. Lada, what are you trying to do? I'm seeing you make ticks here on my screen. So, huh? I think that was a mistake. Okay. But I'm still seeing it. How are you doing that? I'm using the screen recorder. Okay, you're using a screen recorder. I can't really hear you clearly. I'm using a screen recorder to hold the class if I can access to it. Okay, so it's a screen recorder that is doing this. Okay, so data side. So let's continue. How can we make this a service, right? So what I can do is I could create a code that accepts or simple, right? Simple. I could make this whole part plus this. Well, if I want to change this, that means I'll need to rewrite some part of my other code, right? So what I could simply do is, let me just do it the other way. I'll just say that const, then I would say token type, comma, token should be equals to, then what do I do here? I would say token, and I'll split it. Token dot split, and of course I want to split by space. Okay, so I'll just call it TOK. I'll just call this JWT key, right? I could call that the JWT key. Then down here, I could just say if token type is equals to bearer. If the token type is equals to bearer, then I would want to write JWT. Okay, I don't have JWT here. So let me go and import it at the top. And also, it's not by force that you must do this thing inside here. You can make the function, right? You can write the function somewhere else. Then all you just need to do is pass your socket and the next into that function, right? You might not need to really write everything in here. In fact, I think that's what I'll just do, right? I could come down here and I could come down to my auth and just be like, okay, not here. Let me create a new this thing. Let me create a new, should I create a folder? Yeah, I could create a new folder and I could name this folder socket controllers, right? Then inside the socket controllers, I could create a new file and I would name that file maybe, or okay, let's just say, let me just say handle messages. I'll just say, let me just say messages, maybe messages.js. I could create another one for notification. Notification.js could actually do here. So I'm still thinking about it. Okay, down here I could say, I could write a function controller for what is this thing being called? Or let's just say IO auth controller. Then here I will just say, I need the auth. I just need the token, right? Then what I could do here is I could split the token and check all this. But then this is what I'm trying to avoid, this part of the code and this part of the code, right? So let's just see what I could do. I could then come back here. Maybe just copy all these cut it basically, come back to the middleware, paste it in here. And yeah, I could right? What's the name of that middleware I just put? IO auth controller. So I could just export it and come back here and write const let's say user should be equals to IO of controller, right? And then I could pass the token there, right? So what I want to do is I could do something like this: error user. So in here, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? In the middleware, I'll say if there is a bearer, right? If there is bearer token, then I could do jwt.verify, and then I would verify the jwt key, and I'll pass a secret, I'm sure. So that's process.env.secret, right? I'll pass that secret there. Then what I could do here is I'll say const user details should be equals to, I think there's verify sync. Is that what I used here? Okay. There is no verify sync, is verify. Then down here, right? What I could do is I could say return, and return will be an object where error is an empty object, and what did I name the other one? Okay, and user sorry, and user would be the user details, right? Then I'll say if there's any other error that I would like to return, all right, I like to return an error, and then the error should contain well, there are ways I could handle the error. I could say else, that's if that is not equals to the bearer, I could then put this in there, and I could say the message here should be no valid token, or whatever I want to call it, token, right? Then here for the user, I could just say user should be an empty object, or even an empty string, right? Or I could say user should be equals to null. Here, even here, I could say error should be equals to null, right? Instead of passing back an empty object, right? So right down here, I could then check for the user, right? So I could say if there's an error, right? If there's an error, that they should be socket.emit, right? Socket.emit maybe error event and error occurred while trying to authenticate, right? Then to pass details down to the next one, we could say something like we could say sockets right? And then we should add a return here so that it won't go further than that. So here we could say socket dot request dot user details should be equals to user, which is this user we got here. Okay, so with that done, then the next thing I'll need to do here is I'll need to call the next function, or the next um argument, which is a function actually, right? It's a function. I could either pass an error here, right? Or I could just call it next, right? Like that. Okay, then down here, how do I want to handle messages, right? So first and foremost, you want to track the user's connections, right? Because first and foremost, you need to think, will this user might connect to one device alone, or will he have a lot of devices to maybe connect with? Okay, so bringing that into mind, I knew that if you, let's take for example, maybe a user has two phones and his two phones are using the same account. Maybe he's previewing, let's say for example, your shop. He's previewing your shop with his two phones, right? So which means there will be two connections for his account, right? So if there's any notification, the notification should definitely go to his two accounts, right? That makes sense, right? Instead of it going to maybe the last person that connected or the last device that connected only, it should go to all. So that will prompt us to come here and make a new collection. So we could call this connection, say connected users. Connected users.js. Inside this connected users.js, of course, we are going to require something. Const will require mongoose, right? And then we would say mongoose should be equals to require mongoose, and we should do this schema. I'd say connected. That's connected users should be equals to new mongoose dot schema. Yep, schema. Yep, and then this will accept an object, right? We can then say the user ID. Now, come, is not by must that is not a must that you must do it this way, right? Some people can decide that on this user schema, right? This user schema that has user full name, email, role, and password, that they can come here. And in fact, that's the whole essence of using MongoDB, to have documents that has everything to do with a particular maybe for example, this user now, it has everything to do with what concerns user. So some people can do something like socket IDs. Socket IDs should be an array, right? The type of the socket ID should be an array of socket IDs, right? So when once they want to send messages to a particular user, they can just come and fetch all the socket IDs he has there and then look through it to send the message to all his devices. Okay. So, but I don't prefer that approach, right? I don't really like using arrays on my schemas, right? But it's not a bad practice, right? It's totally fine to use arrays, right? Especially in MongoDB, right? So, but let's continue with the way I'm doing it. I'd say user ID would be mongoose dot object ID, right? Mongoose dot types, is it types dot object ID dot, I don't think there's any other thing I should add. Yeah, I think that's it. Mongoose.types.object.id. I would say this should refer to the users, right? I think it's users. Let's check. I'm not sure. If we come back here, okay, users with small letter U, right? So I would say connected users would be with small letter U, and I would say down here that required should be true, right? One. Uh, wait, what am I doing? Sorry. User, let me just call this user, not user ID. User should have this following, should have an should have wait, what am I doing? Let me not tell myself I'm actually forgetting this. Let's go to all right. Sorry guys. And network kicked me out too. All right. So let's continue. I don't know if you guys can see my screen. So we could say that that's user, and then we could say his socket ID should be of type of string and is required. And definitely timestamps. Um, okay, so I say connected users collection should be equals to model. Then inside this, okay, not model, I would say mongoose dot model. Yeah, and then the model will contain the model name of connected users, comma, and this is going to take the schema. Then the next thing for me to do is module dot export equals to, and then I would say connected users collection, of course. Then let's come back here. I would say that once you connect, right, that apart from showing the user's ID, that we should show that user, which is request dot detail. So I could say socket dot request dot user details. Yep. And let me run this npm start, or what is it saying? Index not found. Oh, so where am I? Oh, okay. I'm not in the proper folder, I guess. So I'd say cd with that in the /document/KodeCamp 3.0 npm start. Yeah. Yeah, connected to the database successfully, and okay, sorry guys. So where were we? Let me share my Postman to you guys, right? And then we'll try to log in. Let me look. What is my login details? Let me check. I don't have a login detail. Ah, that's bad. Okay. So basically, let me see what I can do about that. Do I create a new account? Let me see. Where is it? Where are the routes? So we have /auth/login. So let me try that. Come back here. Make a post request to HTTP /localhost 3000 /v1 /auth /register, because I don't want to do trial and error or try and catch. I'm sorry, trial and error. Content type should be equals to application/JSON. So do this. I think where is that authentication, please? Yeah, so we do this. Right. So I know his full name they are looking for, email, role, password. Yeah, full name, Victor, email, junior@gmail.com, role, admin, this VIC 1234. Then let me send that request. Said connection was rejected. That's because I'm sending it to port 3000, but mine is running on port 4000. Is what happened? What happened? Okay, I know why. Double quoted property. Yeah, the reason for this error is because of this comma I put at the end, right? That's how programming is, though. You miss one comma, you're done for. And it has created the user successfully. All right, so then let's go to Postman. Let's go over to Postman. Let's see how we can actually create. Okay, then I need to log in, right? Remember, after creating that user, I need to log in. So I could say login, and I'll send that request and we get our token. So let's go over to Postman and let's see how we can exercise that token using what do they call it again? Using socket.io. Okay, so first let me switch workspaces. You don't want to see my any startups endpoints, right? Okay, so let's come here. Let's now come over to this part. Let's see. All right. Then for the socket.io connection, right? For this first socket.io connection, this is how we can declare headers, right? So we'll do auth should be equals to, let me go and copy the auth token and paste here. You'd say that auth should be equals to the auth token. Then what else should we do? Let me see. So remember that this is supposed to be bearer and token. So shouldn't forget that bearer space then the token. And we're not sending any events. We just want to connect and see what is going to happen after we've connected. At least that's what we want to do now. So I'm just going through my code to see if there's anything I've missed out on. Okay, so let's try to connect and see. It's saying disconnected and my app crashed because there was nothing like, okay. So I was to change something, I guess. Request dot so I think this request dot, let me just follow what they said, dot auth dot token. I didn't want to add that token. I wanted it to just be dot auth, right? So, and here on the headers, we have dot auth, right? I think this should be request dot headers. Yeah, I think I'm the one that made the mistake. let me take you guys back to VS Code. Let's see what mistake I made.
I'm not seeing your screen. We are seeing.
Yeah, yeah, I think I've shared it back too. So this place wasn't supposed to be just socket.request.auth, right? It was supposed to be socket.request. Now you can see socket.request dot. And then let me see, there's no body, but there is headers. So I'm supposed to say socket.request.headers dot token or dot auth or anything you want to call it, auth or token, right? So that was where I made the mistake. That's why it started complaining, right? That there's something I did wrong. So let's come back to Postman again. I believe that's Postman by the grace of God. Yes. And let's try to connect again. Yay. Come on, we connected, right? Without any errors. And let's come back to our VS Code. And let's check on our console. What's printed out? Something printed out. Yes, so see this ID here, right, is where is it? Yeah, this ID here is this socket.id you're seeing here, while the user details is this user details that we decoded here. Remember what we did here, right? So no error occurred, right? So it was able to decode that particular user, right? So you see it here. Now, anytime we make a request, right? Anytime a particular user makes a request, we can just say, like for example, if I want to get the user's ID, I could just say socket.request.userdetails.user ID. Or if I want to get the email from the token, I'll say socket.request.userdetails.email, and it's going to give me the email that's in here. Remember, this user details is an object. Okay, so at this point in time, we'll start seeing how we can save. Now, each time the server restarts, is going to disconnect socket.io. So we have to reconnect every time. So even if I remove that semicolon in front here, it's going to disconnect. Right?
So I didn't get how that message was sent.
Which message?
From Postman to get the. Can you go back that?
Yeah, okay. So let me go back. Let's go to Postman basically. So see, right? You want to create a new socket event, you come to this new. When you click on new, it's going to ask you, which one do you want to create? Is it HTTP, GraphQL, WebSocket, or socket.io? Remember, it's socket.io we are using. So you click on socket.io. When you click on socket.io, if you don't have any collection that has maybe a list of socket.io, maybe connections, for example, right? It will ask you to create a new socket.io collection, right? Remember, what you have here, like this auth is a collection of authentication requests. This socket.io is a collection of sockets.io connections that you can make. So I think the reason they made it like that is so that you won't mix your socket connections with your authentication. They have to be separate, right? Not like you don't need to mix your socket.io with your normal RESTful API requests, right? So I guess that's the reason why they splitted it like that. So we've connected and we are listening to just one event, which is this new message event. But let's disconnect.
That connection. Yeah, that's what I say. Should go over that connection and send the
This
message.
one.
Yes, adding
Yeah.
the headers, the message, and everything.
Okay. Cool. All right, so if we disconnect, there's an event I can listen to. So now this message here, right, is what you want to send to the user. So this message could be a text. This message is just basically like your request body in your normal request, right? So you can decide to send them you can decide to send JSON to your backend sockets.io. You can decide to send you can decide to send JSON, you can decide to send text, you can decide to send basically anything. You can decide to send binary, JSON, or text right here. Then before you send, now what makes this different from RESTful APIs is that, when once you want to send a message or you want to send a request on RESTful API, you just come and click send and to send it and give you the response, right? But that when you click send, what really happens is there's a connection on RESTful API, not on socket.io now. There's a connection that is established between your client and the server, and then the request is sent, and then when the request is sent and then the response is received, that connection is being terminated. It's more like maybe to cross River Niger, you build a bridge and then cross it. As soon as you cross the bridge and get what you want, and then you cross over back to like the other part, the other side, you then destroy the bridge. Then each time you want to get another new thing, you need to create the bridge again. So that's how RESTful APIs work. But socket.io tries to maintain the connection, and there's a reason for that, right? So that if the server just wants to send you a notification, right, or a message without you triggering the request for that message, the server can send it as far as you're connected. Okay, so that's why first you have to connect, right? First you have to connect to your socket.io server. You can decide to listen to a particular event. You can decide not to listen to a particular event, right? So that's the whole essence of this event. So any event you're not listening to, if there's any if there's any maybe a meeting of that particular event, you won't get it. So you only get what you're listening to, right? It's just like radio. What you listen to is what you get. These params, right? I haven't really used these params, but you can have query parameters. Like you can say, query parameter starts with question mark at the end, question mark, then key values that are separated with an symbol or ampersand symbol, right? Then these headers, right? The reason they are in gray is because I'm connected and I need to disconnect before I can actually edit any of this. I can only add descriptions if I want. Then the headers here has to do with the header for your app, right? Like things, maybe your authentication or maybe any other thing you want to add to your header, right? These settings, you can edit to change, for example, the version of or maybe the client version that you're expecting. Maybe you're expecting your socket. Sorry, the client version that you're using, right? Socket.io has different versions, right? You can decide to change the route for your, or the base URL for your handshake, or sorry, the handshake part. You can change it. You can specify the number of reconnection attempts. So if it didn't connect on the first time, should it try to reconnect for some couple of times before it stops connecting and the rest? So you can do all those settings here, right? So after connecting, what you need to do is you need to write the event name that you want to emit, and then you write the message that you want to send with that event. Then you click send to send that event, right? So if I want to send a hello event, I'll then come and say, where is it? Send message, right? So I'll say send -message, and I could say hi again, right? So if I click send, it should send that message hi, right? And maybe something happened. What did it say? Right. Remember I said that my server crashed, right? Don't worry, let's still be on VS Code. Let's be on Postman, right? Remember I said that if you send a request and that request comes back with an acknowledgement, that you need to check this button, right? So if I send, so the reason why the server crashed is because an acknowledgement came back, but it wasn't treated. So the server crashed. So if I send this now, you see, there's a request, there's a send message event that was emitted, and then I got back an acknowledgement that my message has been sent, right? Can you see that? Okay, cool. Then and like that's basically it for your socket, right? What you can do with your socket. So I hope I've answered your question, Ladell.
No, mine is still showing you add event listener, listener to receive message. It shows connected. Well, now I copied the ID, but I don't even know where to use it. From
You copied the ID.
yes, from VS Code.
Okay, no. You don't necessarily need to use the ID for anything, right? All right, so we started on real-time communication, right? Yeah, last class. So we're going to continue from where we stopped, where exactly we stopped. Okay, so welcome to this class. Still Victor Ukop. All right. Okay, so let's continue from where we stopped. Let me share my VS Code for you guys to see. Um, okay, so let's come to the entry point, which is at this point. I know it might be a bit not clear for, okay. So I increase this twice. Let's see. Okay, so 1, 2. Yeah. Steve. All right, sorry. Okay. Isn't big enough for you?
Yeah, it's tiny.
Ah.
Just a little bit. Yeah. I think it's manageable.
Even this one is manageable. Problem deal. All right. So let's see. We wrote all this, and let me go through it again, right? We said that when once a user connects, right, a connection event is going to be fired, right? And then everything about that user that is being connected is going to be passed to this socket here, right? And then we can access properties of that user that just connected. For example, we can access his socket ID, right? Which is the ID of that person that connected, right? Then this user details comes from this middleware, right? Remember that we said socket.io.use, and this is how to create a middleware on sockets.io, right? And then remember this place, IO auth controller. You pass the token in. If there is an error, we tell them an error occurred. If there is no error, we assign the user that we get from this IO auth controller, and then we then call the next function, right? So that's how we got here. So we said that socket.request.user details is equals to the user, which is the user we get from this IO auth controller, right? Then we said immediately you connect, we would like to create a socket ID and user ID, like we would save your user ID and the socket ID, right? For you, so that in case if you want to send messages to you, right? We can send it. Then also, let's come down here to disconnect. So when once maybe you lost connection, like your front end loses connection with the IO server, right? This disconnect is going to be what is going to be fired, right? And we say when once you disconnect, that we want to find the ID, the socket ID, which is that socket ID I put up there. We want to find and delete any user that has that particular socket ID, right? Then what we did here, let's come back here after connecting. Now we are listening for different kinds of events, right? we are listening for users events, right? And this users event just returns a list of users, like all the users, right? Then this chart here is going to return the list of users that you chatted with at least once. Okay, so that's the difference, right? It's just like WhatsApp chats, right? And WhatsApp users, right? Or WhatsApp contacts, right? So it's not every contact that you must have chatted with, right? You have a list of contacts and then you can decide to chat with one of them from that contact, and there are people that you might not also chat with. So this place is for like all the users, right? And this place is for all the chats or contacts. And I said on when you find the chat, right? We're supposed to send back a callback for that chat. So, or the callback, or it's called the acknowledgement. So you can then say callback. The callback should be, the callback should have the chats in there, which is the list of chats, right? Then we said when you send a message, right, that the payload of the message should contain the ID of the user that is supposed to receive that message, right? And the body of the message, like the message itself that you're sending to that particular person. Of course, we can always get the sender's ID from the user's detail, right? Then after that, after creating that message, what we did here is we said find one where that's okay. Find all the sockets IDs, right? Or find all the users, right? That has that particular user ID. And then send them something, right? Send them that message, right? So the person that we are sending the message to, right? Even if it's connected on 3 devices, right? All the whole 3 devices will get that message, right? So that's what I'm doing here. Payload or user ID, which is the user that we are sending the message to. We filter out his socket ID and then we pass it to this. So you must have noticed socket.to accepts either a string or an array of strings, and the content of that string should always be the ID, right? The socket ID you want to send or emit an event to, right? Then we say the message should be the payload of message, which is what you want to send that message to that user. Then for you that's sending the message, you get back a successful or true, and your message has been sent. That's short and simple. Okay, so let's test out all these things we've written out so far, right? I didn't even remember to open my Postman settings. So let me open it now, Postman. And when once it launched, I would share my screen so that you guys would then start using it. I'll start seeing it and then we can continue from there. Okay. So let's see. I'm waiting for Postman to come up. So apart from what I've implemented so far, right? You can listen to a more event, right? You can listen to a typing event, for example. Like for example, if the user is typing maybe on his mobile app, right? As he's typing, maybe the mobile app can emit an event that this user is typing, right? And then you can send that event to the person that he wants to send maybe a message to, right? So you can then tell that person that that user is typing. I think I should even okay. Since I don't have a mobile app in front, I am not sure. So let's see. Yeah, it has launched. Then just give me a little bit of time. Let me clean up some things here.
It's like you didn't push the last class to GitHub.
Yeah, okay, I'll push it. I'll push it. So let me
Because I'm
reshare my
missing some things.
screen. You what?
I'm missing some things.
Okay, don't worry, it will be pushed very soon, right?
Okay. All right.
Yeah, there's a reason why the format, like the last class wasn't pushed, right? And we are going to resolve that. All right. Sorry. So I remember that in our last class, I registered as 2 users. Let's see. I can't remember. Let me check the name of the database I registered with to be sure. Just give me a bit of time. I'm checking that. Um, okay. MongoDB URL. I didn't give that URL, so I'll just say chat. And I have deleted that database, so which means I need to register again. Okay, so it's not an issue. Let's go back to Postman. Let's come back to our VS Code. Let's see how I could actually register. So let me start the development server up. npm start. Then what else do I need to do? I need to register, right? And this is okay. This is how I log in. Okay, so for me to register, I just need to change this to register. Okay. I'll change this to junior. The role. Yeah. Let me just. I think I should just leave that as admin. Vic 1 2 3 4. Create that user. What do I get? Yeah, created successfully. Let me change this to Victor P3TR. Send that. Yeah, I still get 201 created successfully. And then let me try to log in, right? Then once I log in, I get my token, and yeah, I can copy that, right? And I'll go to Postman. So let me reshare my screen and go to Postman. Yeah. So I'll use Victor, right? I'll use this Victor as the Victor P3TR. So I'll change the bearer here. I'll say bearer and that token, right? So this is for Victor P3TR, right? Then Hookup Junior. I'll need to log in as Hookup Junior and then change that also. So let's see. Let me go back to VS Code and log in as Hookup Junior. So I come here, Hookup Junior, send the request. I have a new token. And I simply copy that token and come to Postman. And yeah. So at Postman here, I've come to these headers and I'll paste that there. Okay, great. Now, what I need to do next is connect and connect the second person, right? So I've connected Victor, I've connected the second person, right? And how do I start sending messages to this person? Okay. How do I start sending messages to this person? First, I would want to add, okay, I want to get a list of all the users, right? So how did we say we can get a list of all the users? Remember that I talked about users, right, as an event, right? So what I can do here is, since the socket dot on users, that's the users event, right, accepts an acknowledgement or a callback. So I have to check this button. Then I'll come back here and say users. And there's no payload I'm sending with the users event, right? So let me send that, and an error occurred, right? So let's come back to VS Code. Let me show you what is going on. All right, so what is it saying? Callback is not a function. Okay, so it's saying callback is not a function. Okay. So why do we have callback is not a function? So let me try this. Let me just give this maybe an empty string, and okay, let me just say payload, although there will be no payload I'm sending back. Or I should just make this an empty object, I guess. And let's see if that's going to work magic for us. Okay, so that's what is it saying here? It's saying callback is not a function. Okay. So let me see how I can actually solve this problem. It's saying callback is not a function. Okay. Let's see how we can solve this together. All right. So, okay, I did that on the wrong place, sorry. It's not supposed to be charts. I'm supposed to do this here at users. Okay. And everything runs well. Let me try to connect, and let me send a request, a user's request. Okay, you guys are not seeing my VS Code. Let me go to Postman and show you guys what is happening. So yes, Postman. All right, so let me clear everything. And then I've already connected, right? So what I just need to do is send the users event, right? So the event to give me all the users, which is the users event. But once I send this, you see, I'm sending, there's nothing I'm sending up there, right? And what I'm getting back is a list of users, right? A list of all the users here. You see that there are just two users. The first one, who is Book Junior, and then the second person, who is this. Now, also, right, it's not even, well, it depends on what you want to implement. You can implement that it should get all the users where the users name or the user's ID is not your own ID, right? So that is going to make it only return a user that doesn't contain you as a result, right? That doesn't contain your name as a result, right? We can actually implement that here. So let's come back to our VS Code. Let's see how we can implement that. We are going to say find where where underscore ID, yeah, where underscore ID is not is not equal to user details dot user ID. So I'm saying look for all the users where that the user's ID is not my own ID, right? Let's come back here to Postman and let's see what that is going to do. So since the server restarted, it had to disconnect, right? So if I send that user, you see now it only returns the users where the ID is not my own ID, right? So imagine maybe we don't want a user to be able to chat with himself. He should be able to chat with other people, but not himself, right? Imagine sending hi, and as soon as you're sending it, it's automatically reads, right? WhatsApp allows that too, and Signal allows that, but here on this particular socket I don't want that to happen. So we have that. Then what can we do? Since we have the user's ID, right? We can add the person to a chat, right? So I could pick this person's user ID. Let's come back. How do we? Okay, I didn't make it possible to add someone to a chat. Okay, so let me implement that. How do I add someone to a chat? I think I should just make a third person, right? So we can see how everything works. Okay. Where is it? All right, so we are back here. We can only pick chat, right? But we can't add anybody to a chat. So I could say socket dot on, then I'll say add to chat, right? Async, and I would say ID callback, right? ID and callback, and then in here, what I'll do is I'll say await I'll say await chats collection dot create, right? Chats collection dot create. You can implement a logic to check if that person already exists. Okay. So you can do this chat dot create where user one is your user details dot user ID. User one is you, and then the user two is the other person. While user two is oh no, while user two is that ID, the ID of the other person that you want to be chatting with, right? We can even do this. We can say, where is it? Where, okay. Okay, so here we can do something like this. If await user collection dot find one, and we want to find one where this is true, right? You can make this in one line if you like. You can check first if that user already exists, then you can maybe send a callback and you can say maybe successful, or you can route the person to the chat of that user, right? That those people have had already. So or you could just fall back and say successful, or the message should be already exists, or already in chat, or anything you want to write there, right? Then if this did not fire, then this is what will happen. Add that user. Then the next thing you want to do is you want a callback, and then inside the callback you can say that the successful is true, successful true, message added 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 successfully, right? So we can use that to add a new chat, right? Add someone that we want to chat with, right? Okay, so let's see. I would want to chat with this person, right? So connect again, search for users. I get this user, and I would like to add this user. So I could copy his ID. Then I could come here and say, paste the ID there, and what's the name of that? Call it add to chat. So I say add to chat, right? So let's see. Before adding to chat, right? Wait, let me do something real quick. Okay, I have to connect again. Okay, before adding to chats, let me check my chats, right? Let me cut out that ID. Let me check my chats, right? I don't have anybody I'm chatting with, right? Maybe on your app, right? You can be like, see if the length of this array is 0, then tell the person that he has no chat, and then show him the button to fetch all the contacts that he can chat with, right? But then I want to chat with someone new, which is the other person there, right? I would say add to chat, add hyphen to hyphen, then chat. I think it's chats. Okay, add to chat, right? With the ID, then I'll press that. You see, successful, right? It has successfully added. So let's go back and view our chats, right? Chats, send it. Now I have at least one person I can chat with, which is this second user, right? This first
Sorry,
user is
sorry. I think
me.
that what you just did, you didn't show it. It was your VS Code that was showing.
Oh, wow. Sorry about that. I actually thought I switched my screen, right? Okay, so sorry, let me go over it again, right? First, I checked the chat, right? I checked the list of chats, and I saw that I didn't have anybody to chat with, right? Then the next thing I did was, since I had the ID of the person, like the person I would want to chat with, right? I just pasted the ID here and then wrote add to chats here, add to chat, right? Add hyphen to, then hyphen chat, right? Then I send that request. But now if I send it, okay, saying successful added, success true, added successfully. Well, added successfully. But then I think that's a bug. I'll find out how to remove that. Okay, so let me come back and check my chats. Let me see if I'm going to have two people. Okay, so I have a bug there that I have to fix. So let's come back to VS Code and then fix that bug. So let's come back to VS Code. Let's see. I said here, check where, oh, and I didn't put a return here. Sorry, I didn't put a return here. That is the reason why it was able to pass through. So let me go and clear the database of the charts, right? Let me go to the database and clear that chart. Okay, so I'm clearing it now, clearing those details. And let's go to Postman and let's see. All right, so we're right back here at Postman. Let me create a new connection, right? And let me check for my chart. It's empty, right? Look, the chart is empty. Let me remove this. I don't need it. So even if I send it, you see, we have an empty array sent back, so we don't have anybody to chat with. But I want to chat with. So let me check the users that I can chat with, right? So I'll say users, and then I'll send a request, right? And you see it returns an array of objects. So I as Pickup Junior can chat with Victor P3T, all right? So I have his ID already. Let me copy it again. I have his ID and I would like to add him to my chat, right? So I could say add to chat. And then add to chat is going to, let me fold this back, right? Add to chat is going to add the other person to the chat so that I can chat with him, right? So I send that, add to chat, added successfully. Let me try to send this again if it's going to, it's still saying added successfully. I'm going to check why that is. It's not supposed to say added successfully again, right? So let me just delete one. Okay, so let's come back here, right? Okay, so then how do I chat with this person, right? I've added, let me go to the charts again. I've deleted one of those, right? So if we come back here, you see that I only have one person I can chat with, right? Okay, so let's see. What do we do now? What do we do now? What do we do now? We send a message to this person, right? And let's bring this person to online because he is offline. So when once we connect, yeah, so that particular person is online now. So let's send him a message. And how do we send him a message, right? On VS Code, there is a send message event, right? So we'll come here, we'll say send hyphen message, right? And the send message is going to accept an object, right? So which is the payload. So the object is going to be JSON, right? So we change this from text to JSON, right? And then in here we start writing our JSON. Remember that we will need the person's user ID we want to send to. So we'll say that user ID is going to be that user ID. And the message I want to send to him, right, is going to be a message. The message is going to be maybe hello there, right? Hello there. And let me send that message, right? Let me send the message. So if I click on send message, okay, so it sent the message, but something happened, right? Let's come back to VS Code and then let's see what exactly happened. So let me share my VS Code screen. I missed out on something, I guess. Okay, so it's saying cannot access user details before initialization. right? Which is at this place, user details, user ID. So it can't access user details. Okay. So let's see
After is
why.
you declare user after that. User details
You
after.
say?
If you declare user details after that, after the await instead of before.
Okay, you mean here?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's true. Okay, thank you.
No,
Okay,
you need.
that's true. What you say? What else?
Okay, okay. That's the create message.
Yeah, yeah, that create message is going to use this user details here.
Okay.
So I did not want to write socket or request the user details. I just wanted it to be user details straight.
Okay.
So if we come back and check, that will be on lines on line 78, it's saying user details.
Then it should be
Okay, so
user.
let me test it again. Let me test it again and see. Let's come back here. Let's come back here. Let me connect the two of them again. Connect that person, connect this other one, and then let's try to send that message again and see. Okay, so it's still exactly the same thing. It's saying that, okay, it's saying chat ID is required. Okay, let's go back to VS Code. It's giving a different error, right? It's saying chat ID is required. So which means there's a place that I'm supposed to put in chat ID, right? So in message collection, there's sender, there's receiver, and there's chat ID. Okay. Okay. So although that chat ID is not that important like that, chat ID. So you can say, now chat ID is going to be the ID of that chat. Like, let me take it to the database to show, or to Mongo Compass. Okay, we are here. Okay, so this chat, right? This chat I have between me and the other person has an ID, right? So this ID here is going to be the chat ID I'm going to use for that chat. Okay, so what I just need to simply do is, let's go back to our Postman, right? What I simply need to do is I'll say maybe I'll say chat ID should be that. Then also, let me go back to my VS Code and see if there's anything I'm missing, right? There might be one or two things I'm missing. So this chat ID is going to be payload.chat ID. Remember that the payload is an object which I'm sending from front end, right? Payload.chat ID. All right, then let's come back here. Sorry. So let me reshare my screen. Let's go here. Let's come back here, right? Let me connect this first user. Connect the first user, come back here, connect the second one. And then let me try to send a message to that first user. So send message. Yeah, message has been sent. Then let's come here. You see, the second user receives that message, right? Hello there. And the second user can actually check his list of chats, right? So if he says chats and he sends it, oh, what did I do? I didn't tick the acknowledgement button. Yeah, I didn't tick the acknowledgement button. So let me go and restart the server again. Sorry, I didn't tick this acknowledgement button earlier. So let me connect it back. Then let me send the chats. So you see, now he knows that he can chat with user one, right? So let's even see what are the messages, right? So how do we get messages, right? I didn't implement that. How do we get a list of messages? Let's come back to VS Code, right? Let's come back to VS Code and implement that. So, and also, right? Most times these things are mixed. It's not that when you're doing maybe socket IO, you're just going to just use socket IO for virtually everything. You might use REST in some aspects, you might use WebSockets at some aspects, right? It might all, it just depends on what you guys want. You can use socket IO for everything, or you can decide to make it either some part socket IO, some part RESTful APIs. So we can say socket dot on messages async. Then here we'll say payload the payload is going to be what? Okay, the payload and the callback. So you might want to find all messages you sent to a particular person, right? So this is what you would do. You'd say const messages should be equals to await. Then you now say let me check message collection dot find, and you want to find where the so now you're going to use $or. You're going to find where either the where is it? So you want to check where the sender is you, or where the sender is the other person's ID, right? Because you want to get every message, right, from that person. So you're going to check for message where the sender, right, is that person, or the receiver is that person. So you say where the sender is payload dot sender ID, right? Where the payload is that sender ID, or the receiver, is that person, or the receiver is that payload dot sender ID, or you can just say user ID. Let me not make, I'll just say user ID, and here too will be user ID, right? This is one way to do it. The other way to do it is you can say, you can just say find where the chat ID is that particular chat ID. I think that's like the very simple way. I think I should even use that way, right? I'll just say find where the chat ID, right? Where the chat, because every message has a chat ID. Where the chat ID, in fact, where the chat ID is payload.chat ID, right? Where this thing is, that's payload.chat ID messages, right? So you can get messages like that, then you can send messages. So at that point, let's come back to VS Code and let's see how we can play around with that.
You didn't do anything with that message, oh. You only collected it. You didn't do anything with it.
Okay. Sorry. Let's go back to VS Code. I think that's keeping my memory. So what I could do here is I could say call back here, and I'll just say messages, right? Okay, so I've written all that. I'll connect this user, I'll connect the second user. Remember, the second user received a message, right? So how do we know the chat IDs, right? So first, if we search for chats, right? All the chats, you will see that this particular chat here has a chat ID, which is this ID. So now I can search for every message that belongs to this chat or that has that chat ID. So I will come here and I'll say messages, right? And then here I'll change this to JSON and I'll say where this would be chat ID, where the chat ID is that ID, right? And then I'll send that request. Okay, and it's sending back the message with that chat. It's sending the message back, right? But it's not sending the message itself. It's just sending the chat ID. So let's go back here. Find where that message is, that message. And okay, so let's see. Let's go to let's go to Mongo Compass and see. Let's go to messages. Messages has hello there. Messages has a chat ID of the chat ID that I sent, and which is, it has, the chat ID ends at B457. So, and it's B457 I sent. So why is it sending that to me? And it's sending it as an object. Oh, okay. So let me just say chat messages. I don't know if that is the problem, if that's the reason why. Chat messages should be equals to this message collection dot find where that message is, right? Then let me come back to, okay, you guys are not seeing what I'm doing, sorry. Let me share my screen, let me share my VS Code. Okay, see what I did. I just renamed this from chat messages to, from messages to chat messages, right? So that's just all I did. So let's go to our Postman and let's see how that plays out. Okay, so we are here. Let's connect again and let's send. Okay, I think I understand. Messages is supposed to return a list of messages, while message is supposed to add a particular message. Sorry, that was my, I'll be send message adds a message, right? So I guess that was my mistake. Okay, cool. So I send that event, right? And I see the message here. right? I can even filter it. I could say, just send me the chat ID and the message. So if I want to reply to this message, right, I could use, well, I could use the sender and receiver ID, or I could use the chat ID and maybe the sender ID, something like that. But these three are important though. So I have hello there and I can respond to this message. So how do I respond to this message, right? How do I respond to it? Remember that I want to send this message uh, to this particular person, right? Remember that the sender is this person and this is my own ID, which is the receiver. So I could copy this ID. I could come here. I could say chat ID should be that chat ID. I could say the sender ID. Okay, sorry. The receiver ID is going to be the sender ID now because the sender is the person that sent me this message. So he will now become a receiver, right? So I would say that the receiver ID, right? Is that what it's called? Let me check. To send a message. Okay, so I'll say the user ID, not the receiver ID. So I'll say the user ID is going to be the former sender ID, right? Which is this ID here, right? Then after the chat ID's user ID, what else do I need? I need the message I want to send. So I could say message. The message could be, hi, how are you? Right? Hi, how are you? And the event is going to be a send message event. A send message event, right? I send that and it tells me successful, your message has been sent. Let's come back over to this part. You see, he receives the message, hi, how are you? Quite simple, right? And I can reply, I could be like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. How was your day? Send it and he's going to receive it. I'm fine. How was your day? See, in real time, and you can reply like, my day was fine. My day was fine. Thank you. Send it. And you see, my day was fine. Thank you. This person receives it. And the person can check his list of users, right? Like chats, right? So you could say chats. He could send to see his list of chats, which is the people that he can actually chat with. He can maybe get a list of, for example, all the messages, right? Remember that. So let me check. How did I implement that? Okay, I'll just need this. Here's the chat ID, right? I'll just need the chat ID. I could come here and say messages, right? So I want to retrieve all messages, right, that I've sent before using that chat ID. So I could just send that. And you see a list of messages. Hello there. Hi, how are you? I'm fine. How was your day? My day was fine. Thank you. You see? So with what we've done now, right? We can, if there is a front end, right? The front enders can actually use what we've done now to create a full chat app between users, right? Users can chat, can view the list of users they have. Maybe later on, things like deleting a user, editing message, and the rest of these things can come in, right? But then that's more things you could add, right? More advanced stuff you can add, but this is like using Socket IO to build a very basic chat application, right? So I hope everybody's following. Is there anybody that is left out or is confused about how I did what I did? Is there any question? Who has a question?
Anyway, see, until I try it myself, and I can't now because I don't have some of the schema. But what I want to say is that how do we know if the user is online and offline?
Okay. Okay. Nice. That's a nice question, right? If you want to know if the user is online, you can emit an event. Now, you can do something like you can broadcast an event to every other user that this particular user is online, right? Or you can pick the list of all his friends, right? You can go to the connected users database and then pick all the users ID in which, like, pick all, okay, you can pick all his friends, like pick all his active chats, and then check all the IDs of his active chats, and then broadcast, maybe emit an event to them that this person is online, right? When as soon as the person comes online, or you can broadcast an event, right? Broadcasting is simply just telling everybody, hey, this thing has happened, right? So here, I think, let me see. Let's go back to VS Code. So broadcasting the event will be somewhere here. So after we've connected, after we've created all these, we can then come here and say socket.broadcast. And the broadcast, let me see what it actually accepts, right? So this will broadcast an event to every other person except the sender. So we can broadcast user online, right? And then what do we send back? We could say okay, so what I could do here is const user should be equals to that connected user, and then here I could say const user const online user is equals to await I think it's user collection dot find by ID. And then I could say I want to find user details dot user ID, right? Find that person, and then here I could then say I could use backticks and say online user dot name, online user dot full name is online. Okay, so which means everybody that is going to listen to this event, except the person that came online, is going to have that, okay, this person is online, that person is online. So let's try it on Postman and see how that works. So apart from the normal events that everybody listens to, Why does Postman want to quit? Wait. Postman isn't allowing me to type. Why? Okay. So I could listen to user online events, user online broadcast events. I could just listen to both of them, right? So let's assume this person comes online and this other person comes online now. Bam. Okay, so something happened. What is it saying? Okay, so it's saying broadcast not a function. So let me see what I can do. Okay, sorry, it's supposed to be, let me take it back to, VS Code, sorry. Sorry, it's not supposed to be socket.broadcast. It's supposed to be socket.broadcast.emit because broadcast is just a property, right? It is not actually a function, it's a property. So socket.broadcast.emit is what I was supposed to write. Okay, so let's come back to Postman and then let's see Postman. So let's assume Victor comes online and of course there's nobody online. But then this second person also comes online. Let's see. Uh, Let me disconnect and connect again. Listening to sorry, what's going on? Okay, so let's see how we can actually solve that issue. I think there's a way to do it. Let's go to that documentation real quick. Let's see. There should be a way to actually make it possible for someone to broadcast a message, which maybe I can't remember now. Okay, so let's go to sockets.io, go to that documentation and find out. Okay, so yeah, broadcasting events, let's see, sockets.events, okay, sockets.broadcast.emit, right? I was correct on connection, broadcast to everybody. This one is to a particular room. So what happens, right? I actually understand what is happening here, right? If client A connects, right, to socket, the socket, when you use broadcast will not send the same event to client A when you send it to client B and client C. So you, as the person connecting, won't get that event. So let's come back here. Let's come back to Postman and then let's see what is actually wrong, because I'm not sure there's anything wrong with my code. Oh, I've seen the issue. I've seen the issue. I've seen it. So let me show you guys where the issue was from. Let's go to my VS Code. Do you notice that there were two brackets here? Like there are two brackets which are necessary. It's supposed to be one bracket here and the other bracket at the end, not double brackets at both sides. So I think that's the reason why it wasn't actually working out. So let's come back to Postman. Let's connect the first user. Let's connect that first user, and then let's connect the second user. Yeah, so it's showing. See it's here, Victor Okok is online, right? So let's say this other person goes offline, right? He goes offline and then he comes back, right? This person is supposed to know that, yeah, this other person is online, right? So anybody that goes offline, when he comes online again, this now, you see, now this person, this Victor P3TR is the one that gets the event that this other person has come online. So then I know you might also ask, how do you know if someone goes offline? You will also broadcast an event, right? When once someone goes offline, you can broadcast an event. So which means you also need to listen when a user is offline, right? And then you can broadcast that event to the concerned users. Okay. So another thing that can happen on the front end is once someone goes offline, you can broadcast it with the user ID and the with the user ID for that user and maybe the user's name, right? So what the front enders can do is they can check a list of their users to see if there's any user that has that particular user ID. Then if there is any user with that user ID, then they can change the status of that user from maybe being online to being offline or from offline to being online, right? That's also something that is achievable. So is there any other question? Or Ladel, did you understand what I was saying? Hello, Ladel, did you understand what I just explained? Oh, seems he's not active. Okay, so apart from that, is there any other question? Does any other person have any question they might want to ask? Any other person? Okay, so in the absence of any question, wait, let me see. Oh, okay, Ladel, since your mic is not working again. Okay, all right. So I've seen that. No problem. Okay, so in the absence of any question or maybe questions, right? Or any question, right? So we can call it a day. And thanks so much for staying to the end of today's class. And yeah, we'll continue chatting online on the channel. And if you have any issue, any question, you can always ask it on the channel, right? So Ladel, you're asking if today is the last class. Well, I think so. Yes, it should be the last class. But then if there is going to be any class by next week, I'm going to inform you guys on time, right? But if there is not going to be any class, then pretty much this is the last class for the this batch of beginner Node.js or a batch of CodeCamp, right? CodeCamp 3.0, and for the track of the beginners Node.js, right? So this should be our last video, right? So we've gone this far. try as much as possible to finish your tasks. And if you have any issue, try as much as possible to say it out on the group. If I'm online, I'll try to answer you, try to look forward to give you a solution to your problem. If I'm offline, any other person can actually help anybody to solve their problem. Okay? All right.